Welcome to Biohacking Beauty, your go-to anti-aging skincare podcast. I'm Amitai Eshel, co-founder of Young Goose Skincare. And every week we cut through the noise and trends to bring you the real science of skin longevity, biohacking, and aging younger. Today, I am joined by the great Dylan Gemelli. If you've ever gone down the rabbit hole of YouTube researching peptides, hormone optimization, or performance strategies, chances are you've seen Dylan's work. He's built a massive community by simplifying complicated science and helping people understand how to actually use these tools in their own lives. What I really love about Dylan is that he doesn't stop at like muscle or performance. He digs deeper into the cellular biology, the things that I think the way that he approaches things, it's really about recovery, hormones, and peptides, and our same levers we talk about here on the podcast when it comes to skin health and longevity. So it's all connected, your body, your biology, your skin. In this episode, we're going to bridge the gap between performance enhancement and biohacking your skin. We'll get into peptides, hormones, recovery, and how these protocols, how these approaches can support not just how long you live, but how young you look and feel while doing it. Before we start, remember, if you like what we're doing here, we would like to have more people get this information. The way that we do it is by you guys doing what you've been doing until now. Like, subscribe, share it with other people, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, because that's the way that Apple Podcasts is then going to offer it to more people, and that really helps the growth of the podcast. So if you like that, if you like the podcast, please do that. Last, before we start, if you want to support the podcast, head over to younggoose.com and pick your favorite products. And I promise you they're going to impact your skin as much as this podcast does. Use the code podcast10 to get 10% off your first order. And enjoy. But now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Dylan Gemelli. Okay, finally, Dylan, welcome to the Biohacking Beauty Podcast.
It's great to be here, brother. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, man.
Yeah, we haven't known each other for a long time. I think like a few months. Mm-hmm. And I'm ashamed to admit that I didn't know of your existence beforehand. I didn't know you're so popular, but you're a very popular, I think, information biohacking purveyor. And I'm wondering what is why it's a kind of a weird question, but why do you think that is? Like what do you think made you so successful within that community?
I started doing YouTube videos almost 15 years ago, and immediately I think it was the topic I was willing to discuss, but I think two, it's the authenticity, because it's just, you get what you get. Like, I don't play a role. I don't play a cartoon or a person. It's just straightforward. And I really try to not only keep it real, but I like to just talk about such a variety of things. And I'm really multifaceted. So I was in this industry, and it was like I was screaming to be let out and to do so much more. And I have a lot to offer, I think, in a lot of areas. And another thing with the conversations I have, I'm a good talker, like communicator. And, everybody's good at something, and that just happens to be what I'm good at, man. And I think that I'm able to get people to listen to what I have to say, and I'm really good at spotlighting other people. Mm-hmm. And, it's important when you have a conversation that it's a two-way thing. And, and there has to be good relatability and credibility. And I don't know, man, I am a very spiritual driven guy, and I just try to do whatever God's telling me to do at this point. It's not about Dylan anymore. It's just like, I'm trying to do the best I can for everybody. And I think it's resonating. I really do.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of people coming to you and asking, hey, I actually don't know where to start? Like, what is the direction I need to go and like to take ownership on my health or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I've always gotten from the moment I ever started doing anything, how do I lose weight, or where do I
Yeah.
start? What do I do? And there's certain aspects with health that are very standard, get
Hmm.
plenty of rest, proper nutrition and things. But then, there's different skin types for what you deal with, right? So everybody's got a
Hmm.
little different thing they may need. So for me, it's like, well, structurally, there's so many factors: your age, your
Hmm.
genes, different aspects of like family history and health. So I always tell people, look, let's start here. Let's get that rest. Let's get outside in the morning, get some sun. Let's walk. Let's have good state of mind, because everything is mind body connected. And
Hmm.
this too with, and I'll relate it back to skin again because it's very relatable to what you do. It shows in your skin and your face when your health is
Yeah.
off, right? And when you're
Yeah.
not resting, and it's an accumulation of things, of non-care. And so I always really try to start as basic as I can with people and not make it complicated or hard so they don't get scared. And then we just roll, man. And I'm always about accountability, but then also congratulatory on people that do well. Just to
Yeah.
understand, like, complacency is a terrible word. So when you're doing well with something, you don't just stop. You always celebrate it, but then move on.
Yeah.
Just keep going, because there's always something better you can do.
Yeah, I agree. It's to your point, you can't unscramble an egg, right? Like if things
Right.
have a falling apart and the base is not there, you're not getting your sleep, you're not getting your nutrition, whatever that is, your gut lining is destroyed, or you have a bad relationship with insulin. These are things that you can do all the fancy biohacks, but you're working against something that is so intrinsic, so fundamental that and there is no steroid you can take that beats bad sleep, basically.
No, no, there is
Yeah.
none. And that term, and I am enthralled in the biohacking sphere in the world, but people, it can be, and I had a good laugh with Dave Osprey about the polarization of the word, and he said it's so stupid to think that. But you have to correlate it with, people look at something like that and they think, oh wow, you got to spend 20 grand on technology and you have to do all of these crazy things, and that's just not it. It's such a wide faceted word that has so many definitions to it that you just have to get around and realize that it just comes down to your health and taking care of
Yeah.
yourself and doing
Yeah.
it on your own, not relying on doctors and everything. They're necessary, they're needed, but no one's going to watch you 24/7. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You, me, everybody else, we're responsible for what we eat, how we sleep, how we live our life. And that's it,
Yeah.
man. It's just figuring that out.
First of all, I think it's very hard for people to understand that more money doesn't equal more results per se,
Mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
and that getting 50% there is significantly more simple, or even 90% there is significantly more simple and more affordable than getting each percent past 90% as far as like optimization. And that,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, applies to many parts of physics. It also applies to your electric vehicle. You
Right.
charging your battery to 80% takes significantly shorter than charging the next 10 or 20%.
That's right.
Um, yeah, and by the way, financially as well, your red light is like $500, whereas some of those crazy immortal beds is $125. What the difference in health optimization is like 2%.
That's right.
So the problem is that people are saying, well, I'm in a really bad spot. I have a lot of money. Let's say, like, I've sacrificed my 20s, 30s, 40s, my health to gain a certain, level of finances. And now I want to, buy the $100,000 thing because I think it's going to overhaul my health. And that's an unhealthy relationship, I think, with health optimization as a whole, but also with investment in that.
I have to agree. And I'm a finance business guy background before all of this, so I always go back to making your dollar go as far as it can,
Yeah.
and understanding that there are multitudes of ways to do very good, healthy things that don't have to be this big name brand. Or I've lived in that world, in that trap. I was a model and an actor for a very long time, and I lived a very vain, ignorant, like idolatry type life to things, to clothes, to all of this stuff. And I realized, like, what am I doing here? Like, what is this Gucci shirt doing for me that the polo shirt isn't doing? And it's a $700 difference. I mean, what is it? What is it? Is it a stigma? I don't know. But once I got a little bit older and realized that you can do so much more with so much less if you just do it wisely and carefully. And it a little bit goes a long way often in everything that we do. Now, there's certain things that I would always say spend more money on, spend the extra money on the good food, the things that you're putting on your body, the skincares, the things that are safer, the things that are proven. And that's just coming down to what's the most important to you. Can you do without the alcohol and spend it a little bit extra on the food? Things like that, where I can't fathom not taking care of yourself first and balancing that out. It's kind of like this. When you say, oh, I don't have time to work out, well, go to bed a little bit earlier and get up a little bit earlier. I mean, what's your priority here? What are you doing later at night that you could cut out instead? So it's priority, brother. That it always comes down to what's the most important to you, and when you find what it is, you'll make it work.
Yeah, and definitely. And the one thing that I would say that you don't want to try to nickel and dime right now in the health world, I think, is peptides, because
Oh yeah.
I mean, and we've said it in this podcast like a few times. This is still, when you buy peptides today in the United States, you're basically buying them for research only. Like they are not they're not only that they're not regulated, regulation says that you shouldn't be using them. So if you're using them, it is going against regulation per se, and that is a loophole really anyone could use. You could sell, sawdust and call it peptides, for that matter. It's as legal as selling you the real thing. So yeah, this is the one area that I wouldn't try to save $10 on a vial, right?
I don't know how much you know about my background, but I discovered peptides in 2011.
Wow.
Working with different companies that said, well, we'd like you to start doing some research on research chemical companies. And so I have probably some of the most intricate knowledge of any human that you will ever find in terms of the underground research, SARMs, peptides, nootropic world, because I've been around it for 15 years and I'm talking knee deep. So I know exactly every little bit and piece that goes on within that community. And it's like for every 10 to 20 new companies that they pop up consistently, and I'm talking daily. If you do your research and know it, for every 10 to 20 of those, 1 to 2 will actually do intricate testing, and within those 1 to 2, maybe 1 will actually do it consistently every time they get products, because every time these products come in, they're coming in from China.
Yeah.
And they're sending you fake COAs, which stands for Certificate of Authenticity, for anybody that doesn't know what that means. And I mean, if they're good at faking Louis Vuitton and Gucci bags, I'm pretty sure that they can put a paper together and make one. I mean, dude, I can go on Adobe and make you one right now. Give me 20 minutes and $500 and I'll have it to you, right? Just for wasting my time. But there's, and here's another thing that I'm sure that some people aren't aware of. A lot of these testing companies, they get bought out and paid too. One of the biggest ones just got busted out about, 6 months ago, that everybody called the gold standard, that they were taking money to put out fake certificates for people.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to get through. And there is that fear, because it says for research purpose only, because it's the only way you can sell it. And the FDA kind of picks and chooses who they want to go after.
Exactly. Actually, if you're very good, you're probably going to get shut down.
Yeah, they know. Trust me when I tell you, they can get in Google Analytics, see who's getting all the traffic, who's spending all the money on the ads. They know how to do all of this. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Once again, I could go get that done for us in 20 minutes. You see these people, spending money, putting out fake reviews, because all those review sites are fake. We
Yeah.
know this.
Yeah.
These press releases, they're fake. If
Yeah.
you go down and read where they're coming from. So there is such an abundance of bad actors out there that ruin it for the couple that do it right. And then they make it to where it's this danger zone, and rightfully so, because they're hurting people because all they care about is making a couple bucks.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
I think
you know,
I think it's even like to make it I think scarier a little bit. I think we should all remember what happened. I think it was already 10 years ago with GNC, where people in Long Island were like elderly in Long Island were getting liver failures.
yep.
And they found out that B12 pills that GNC was selling were tainted with anabolic steroids from the contract manufacturer that was making the products for GNC, and then obviously faking tests, things like that. And people, again, like elderly people who were taking B12 supplements were ending up in the hospital with liver failure.
Yep.
So it's very, not to excuse anyone, but it's actually very difficult to be even if you're well-meaning, to be at the top of your game all the time as a retailer of those research compounds, of those peptides.
Well, it's pricey to go get stuff tested consistently. I can tell you right now that every time that you go as a research company, let's say that you get in a peptide powder and you want to go have it tested. Well, every time you get a batch in, it's costing $200 and $300 to test. A lot of people will go, oh, well, I see the cost of the raw materials, but they've never ran a business.
Yeah.
And when you go up and down a business and see all the expenses that go along with it, the packaging, the employees, the facilities, by the time you're done, the margins are so low. So they're cutting every corner they can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to remember too, when they get shipments sent over, a lot of times they get picked off. So they're losing the money they spent on it too, because the border's taken it.
But also, like, again, how many conversations like this are happening? I think it's 1 to 100 of people who are going to go online and look for peptides even has the faintest idea, never mind getting 5-10 minutes into a conversation about the dangers of of these companies or of testing. How many people actually know that they should be not nickel and diming it, right? Like, you can't charge $100 when someone charges 30, and because you've decided to have all the testing, like you will be making less money. That's the bottom line. It's very difficult to say I'm going to make less money over time, obviously.
Well, especially when you see other people making a lot, or you have made a lot, and then something happens. I mean, I could write a complete novel on this, and people that would read it would be completely astounded at everything that I know that goes along within this whole system. And as I mentioned earlier, the thing now is, it's like, well, somebody sees somebody else doing it, and these companies just keep popping up, and they keep popping up. And I know, because I coach peptides, I've worked with these companies, and so it's part of my daily research. I do research on everything that I'm a part of. So that's one of the aspects of what I do. So I study every part of it, not just mechanisms of action and how things work, but I also look at, well, where are all these things coming from, and how is it changing, and how has it evolved from 2011 to today? And it's when I started, there was like 6 or 7 peptides in the research world that you could pick from, and that's it. So, like, I've watched this grow into this monster and seen how it's changed, because when we were doing it, it was only bodybuilders were looking at these.
Yeah.
And they were a joke to bodybuilders, because in comparison to steroids and SARMs, they were like the third level, where you're not really gaining any much muscle or, So seeing what they've become and how many different parts of our life and our well-being, and it's been such a pleasure and fascination for me to watch and be a part of. And, and seeing more doctors and people talking about them, and seeing that it's for your mitochondria, your brain, your skin. It's not just about your growth hormone and getting tan, because that's all there was back then was melanotan
Yeah.
and GHRPs, you know? So it's been pretty damn cool to watch and to be a part of.
So yeah, before I'm asking you about like specific, combinations and peptides, do you have any guidelines to choosing a good supplier, or do you have just names that you like to work with? How do
Mhm.
you suggest someone goes about it? Let's say we inspire them to go down that rabbit hole.
So I actually have worked with a company closely because I know the owner. And it's funny because, and I'm not trying to answer this like a politician,
No,
but
no, no. Go ahead.
I want to like just give a little bit of background on what I've seen. So when I started, I was like, man, I can't start promoting stuff I don't know about, you know? And so I studied them and learned about them. And these companies were so new at the time. And so they were making stuff in their houses, in their kitchens, literally, like no lie. They did not have facilities or anything. Plus, it was so scary with the FDA.
Yeah.
So a lot of these places, I mean, I was actually seeing like, how are they even sanitary, you know? And anyway, I got really sought after because I had millions of subscribers on YouTube listening to me, and anybody I promoted was making hand over fist. And by the way, my channels got shut down back then, but that's a different story.
Wow.
But yeah, twice. And I had
Wow.
millions of subscribers twice. So you can imagine what that felt like.
Yeah.
So I rebuilt multiple times here. But anyway, I ended up finally, after kind of being partners in some. I never ran my own, but I helped start companies because of my influence. Well, I met a company in Arizona, and it's called Umbrella Labs, and he flew me down there, and he has like a $1 million facility, like state of the art machinery. I mean, I'm talking, this guy was on a whole different level of anything I'd ever seen. True manufacturer, true beautiful setup, everything tested, all these high-end refrigerator, like I'm talking everything. They had their testing done on multiple places, so it was double, triple checked. So they're spending a lot of money, but their prices are a little higher. So that's the one place that I know, because they've been around 10 years, and I still, give him advisory. I don't want to have my part, like a role in these companies. I'm a little scared for me personally, but I do have a friendship, and I do have my own personal use if I ever want to use something that you can't go get prescribed from a compounding pharmacy, because you can only get so much. But that company's called Umbrella Labs. That's really the only one that I will even consider if I do use anything, because they've been around so long, and I know because I've been there multiple times and seen how they do everything. But those are few and far between. Here's what a lot of these places do, Amate, is they source this all stuff out. So a lot of the places that you see and that you buy from, you're buying the same thing from 20 different companies. People don't know that. So here, I'm a sneakerhead, right? So if I go to Champs, or if I go to they're all the same. Foot Locker, you'll notice they all have the same stock and everything, because it's the same. They're all getting it from the same place. Well, these places, they'll go through. You think, oh, I got such great quality from so-and-so. And it's like, brother, you're getting the same thing from them that you are from here.
That's the NMN game,
Yes.
And NMN, the top 2,000 retailers of NMN supplements in the United States are getting it from one supplier in China.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And what you just said is so true of so many of these places. They either have the same exact Chinese supplier that goes direct to them, or they have a company here that does their white labeling, and they get it all from the same. And it's like all it is it's the same product in a different bottle, different label. That's it.
So, so that's actually great. I mean, to be honest, it's refreshing to get like a straight answer. Is like, hey, this is what I know. This is the company I've been working with, and I've seen results. Because, it's hard to go on a limb. To those who don't know, there was one big company that every doctor used to work with. They were called TaylorMade. People might see advertisements now for a direct-to-consumer product called InfiniWell. That's the same company.
Yep.
And if anyone And if anyone ever had true diagnostics test done, that's the same company basically. But
Hmm.
the FDA just waited, bided their time. Then they were juicy and interesting enough, and the FDA just rated them like one day and basically tore that company down. So it's scary to say to kind of associate yourself with anyone in that field. So that says a lot, actually, which is great. So let's talk a little bit about actual peptides that are going to result at the end of the day more broadly with longevity, but also with skin aging.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'll start us with something interesting that you said. And it's not a secret. Many people go on this path because they have some unsuccessful path, like their path is unsuccessful as far as their body composition. Well, before GLP-1s, many peptides that we now think of or that we now are using for longevity actually started as weight loss peptides, and they weren't very successful. They were successful in other areas, but many of those started like that, right?
Yes.
MOTS-C or 5-amino-1-MQ, or
Yes.
so more broadly, let's talk about like peptides that are just improving your overall health. What is your approach to them? How would someone use those tools just to get a better baseline of health, if you would?
So I always do a little like quiz on people that come to me for
Yeah.
general health. A lot of times when a lot of the same symptoms and the age ranges that I deal with, and I always look at blood panels first, mind you, but generally ipamorelin and CJC 1295 are often combined and used together, and those are going to be ones that I am looking at for, they do so many different things, and a lot of it will revolve, and if people don't know, they're like growth releasing hormone peptides. So what that means is when you take exogenous HGH, you're taking actual HGH, you're taking a synthetic form to get more, in
Human
your
growth
body.
hormone. Yeah.
Yes, human growth hormone. So with a releasing hormone peptide, you're allowing your body to naturally release it on its own. So, it's actually a heck of a lot better because you're having your body do it on its own than taking something like I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, so I'm taking it exogenously to get my body to produce it, right? So, but these are kind of two that are the most commonly prescribed if you go to a clinic or things of that nature. More often than not, and this especially a few years ago, these were the ones that you were going to get prescribed the most. And there's multitudes of studies that I'd have to pull up for you on what they do, because these have been around for so long. These were actually around back in 2011 when I was talking about that. But there's things that go so far as to thyroid function, heart function, intestine function. There's other things, because people look at these and are like, well, they help with lean muscle, they help with your sleep. They could, they do provide what you would call some anti-aging type benefits, because they do. I mean, secondarily, you're sleeping better, it's improving your skin. But these are kind of your basic ones that I look at. But then, what's the most popular thing everybody talks about? It's BPC, right? So everybody talks about BPC 157, but when everybody looks at it, I guess most people that look at it, they're going after it for the healing. Okay. So the main reason that it got so popular so fast was because so many athletes are using it and they're speeding up their healing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many different athletes come to me. I've got this severe injury and like a torn ACL or something serious. And they think in their head that this is going to make them heal in 3 months like the Terminator. And I'm like, just temper your expectations. But it does speed up recovery and enhance it.
Yeah.
And it's called body protective compound, right? So, of course, if you learn about it, but it does so many other things.
First of all, it's It's really cool. I think it's important to sometimes we can trace down a peptide for kind of where it comes from, and
Yes.
then things are like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. So first of all, anyone who's listening to the podcast know that I say that peptides are like computer codes. They're basically like the ways that our body kind of relays signals around. And the thing about BBC 157 is that it's a natural computer code in our body to heal the gut lining when it's getting damaged. So guess what our gut lining is made out of mostly? It's collagen. And that's why, when we inject it, into the, can bypass the gut, because you could take it also, you're talking about 2011. I don't know when integrative peptides, shout out to integrative peptides, came out with a pill version, but there are pill versions of it. There are oral versions of it. They work
Hmm.
less well for kind of
Yes,
overall body healing.
that's right.
Um, so when you kind of bypass the gut and these peptides swim around and find areas of inflammation to kind of correspond with, what they're saying, in other words, is, hey, let's lower inflammation. Like anything that they think they don't, we're giving them a little bit of life, but anywhere that they think they're in their gut and like, oh my God, there's an injury here, they're gonna do what they're doing in the gut. It's like, hey, let's bring more collagen here. Let's grow some blood vessels. Let's lower
Hmm.
inflammation. Let's resolve inflammation more than lower it, which is way more important. So it's really cool to understand like where they're naturally at, their natural habitat, if you would, and what they do in other habitats because they think that they're there. So that's a really cool peptide, which now, by the way, is getting roped into this. I just saw some famous model go to her integrative doctor, and he was giving her GHK-Cu, BPC 157, and TB 500 as some kind of a glow up.
Glow. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's being used a lot for beauty as well.
So there's a product called Glow, which you just mentioned, and then there's
Yeah.
one they call Clo with a K because it has KPV in it as well.
Yeah.
So those are the two big ones going around right now. I am a very big fan of KPV, and I love that combo. I do want to touch on something real quick that you brought up
Yeah.
that's very important. When we were talking about the capsule or the oral form of BPC, because
Hmm.
I know a lot of people don't like to inject, and it
Yeah.
does get annoying, but I do want to make it very clear that the injection is by far the most superior form of it. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, and I wanted to bring this up before I get into some oral
Yeah.
data, but there is that the company I brought up, Umbrella Labs, they did a cream of BPC and TB500, and that's what I use.
Hmm.
And that is so easy and so nice because it's very efficient without the injection. Because, man, I've been injecting so long, I get sick of it, and it is annoying. So I do get
Yeah.
that for people. But I do want to make sure people do understand that's going to be the you're going to have the highest efficacy. The capsules started getting a little bit more popular, or at least coming around right after around COVID, a little before that, where people were kind of experimenting with
Yeah.
it, and they got more prevalent a couple years ago. I don't like it because there's really low bioavailability because of the breakdown in the stomach acid,
Yeah.
right?
Peptides. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a data guy. I know you're a data guy. There's really not much research aside from just people, and you know how people can imagine things
Yeah.
are doing something that maybe not.
To be
And
honest, I'm a little worried because they're starting to incorporate ingredients there that delay its breakdown, and
yes,
that's actually
yep,
really bad for your gut to have these ingredients kind of running around.
I agree, and that's the concern. And also, you're depending and hoping that these places that are pressing the capsules actually know what they're putting in there.
Hmm.
And I've seen firsthand how some of these people press, and it's scary. I would
Hmm.
never, like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm never ordering any capsule of any kind from any company whatsoever. It took me a long time to get over it. Injectable is going to have highest bioavailability, and you get a direct action when you inject it into an injury of wherever it's injured or inflamed, right? And then there's
Yeah.
good veterinary and animal studies that were done on it. So, but
Yeah, I would say one thing, since we're also kind of talking about a compound, and I love the fact that you were like, hey, this is a compound, this is the best way to kind of consume it.
Mm-hmm.
I think consistency is key here, and to understand you're going to a 90-day, loading phase, like 6 weeks before
Yep.
you really feel anything, and then you're running another 6 weeks, let's say, of kind of enjoying the benefits, and then you need to not do it for a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
There are other ways. You mentioned oral, or you mentioned cream. But I'm starting to see two things that I think are less, like, they're a little disingenuous with most peptides. With the peptides, first is IVs, and the second is straight kind of to the face injections. And both of those, they just don't follow the mechanism or the data behind how you should load those. So
Yep.
I'll let you talk about IVs, but I can tell you what I've seen with estheticians or practitioners injecting them into the face as a kind of a rejuvenation treatment. Peptides don't work. Like, you can't just do it once a month and expect anything to happen. So, using it, like injecting it daily, using it daily, building it up in your system is the way to go, rather than going to someone to inject it into you once a month.
So when you take steroids, specifically testosterone, it comes with what's called an ester chain, right? So that's like a delayed onset release. So like on TRT, ideally you take testosterone cypionate because it's like a 7 to 8 day half-life, and theoretically you take it once a week and you're good throughout the week. I don't prefer that because you still have there's a
Yeah.
peak and a trough.
Yeah.
And so when you hit that trough 4 or 5 days into the week, so if I go get my blood panel tested day of injection as opposed to 5 days later, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that can give you a up and down feeling. Well, these peptides, they don't have these ester chains attached, and they don't have long half-lives. So I mean, if you don't take it consistently, well, what happens when you're not consistent? You have inconsistent or negligible result.
Yeah.
And they market all of these things and these methods and these strategies that they really don't know about, and people are easily manipulated, and rightfully so, because people don't have 70 hours in a day to research every little thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to take, unfortunately, a lot of people more often than not are just going to take the word of it, of what they're told.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason I do what I do. And I try to touch on so many different areas, is because I'm trying to put out information to help people have it readily available to them, where they could just click listen and go, oh, wow, I better not do this, And it's important that we have conversations like this, because people don't know where to go for this info. And like we were talking earlier, there's a lot of sites out there that are saying things that aren't true just to get you to do whatever. And
Yeah.
so
I agree.
having a credible, loud voice, and when I say loud, not obnoxious, but a heard one, it's important, man. And that's
Yeah.
why I love this conversation we're having, because it's bringing to light a lot of stuff that most people, I would say what you said, 99% of the people, 99.5 would have no clue about most of the stuff we're talking about, underground especially.
Yeah. And even in this conversation, we have to almost like bob and weave between, hey, you should use this. This is great. These are the results that you can get. Hey, this is, by the way, what you shouldn't be doing. But look over here. This is also
Right.
great. So, I don't, to be honest with you, I wish that, this podcast obviously is, we're a skincare company that's making a podcast, but a lot of people, including people within our own company, especially our marketing team, were like, hey, you're not talking about products enough. I'm like, look, there's so much information we have to, provide to people. That's all. We almost are in a podcast company with a monetization excuse to make sure that we have information that we can support that information. But I do want to go back to Glow and Clo, because I have seen them. I'm actually extremely surprised by the explosion in or by the first of all amazing results, but also explosion in interest to these kind of no pun intended, these umbrella peptides, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about BPC 157. Obviously, the hero ingredient in there is GHK-Cu, copper peptide, right?
I love GHK-U, man.
Dude,
Oh,
we incorporate it in a lot of products, and we are deep into research because we, again, as you said, creams are great. They're just never as effective as injections, holistically.
yeah.
We're half of what we do is we try to figure out how to complex it with other peptides to make it more effective. But let's talk about like why would that be a hero ingredient to inject? What's going on there that makes it so effective?
Yes. So, I really got more into GHK-U about 2 years ago, and just a little bit of background on me. I am not anywhere even in the realm of skin expert like you whatsoever. However, I've been modeling since I was 23, and so I have been
Yeah,
taking care of my skin way more than you would see most women take care of their skin.
yeah.
So I do have a little bit of insight. So my point in saying that is that I've anything that has anything to do with skin, I'm ultra fascinated. Okay, right
Mm-hmm.
from the jump. So, of course, this was appealing to me when I first started to kind of take notice of it. And
Yeah.
it's not in it's not in my supreme wheelhouse because I've studied hormones for so long, but I do know a great deal about it. So into it, anti-aging, I think, is the obvious that people are looking for with it when they're first attracted to it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to stimulate collagen and elastin production, and that's going to really help improve your firmness, your skin firmness. Just going to help reduce wrinkles, right? Skin regeneration, though, is another thing that it does that is appealing to people because
Yeah.
it can repair damaged skin cells, right? And it's going to improve your structure of your skin. So you'll notice that. And then it's got antioxidant protectants in it. So it's going to protect your skin cells from like oxidative damage and stress.
Yeah.
And it can improve the skin texture, which is another thing that you notice, help
Yeah.
smooth out rough
I'll,
skin.
I'll tell you what, one thing that is another like win into the like another check mark to the column of injectable versus topical
Hmm.
is you with GHQ topically you need to pick your poison where if you go over let's say 2 to 3%, 2% if you are buying it from a less reputable source, 3% if you're buying like pharmaceutical grade, towards 5% you're going to start stimulating hair growth, and so there is a limit to how much you can have in skincare.
Hmm.
When you inject it, you are actually getting great hair growth results, or you're getting hair health results, scalp health results, without growing hair in places that you wouldn't want. So I think there's that, which is kind of cool, where you could get into this looking for skin rejuvenation, but also getting fantastic hair alongside it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and beyond the skincare, there is some other benefits, and that's why it's incorporated into this, because there is wound healing as a
Yeah.
benefit that people probably don't even think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there's anti-inflammatory properties there too. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
these are very synergistic when they go together. This wasn't just something that just got pieced and thrown together. There's
Mm-hmm.
a reason that there's a function of either all three or all four, depending on if you're doing glow or clo.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may, if you don't mind, I would
Yeah.
just like to touch on KPV real quick
Yes.
and how it fits into this equation. So, one of the things that I love about KPV is that it heals and supports gut health. You brought it up at the beginning. I constantly bring it up. I've had so many experts talk about gut health, and it's finally becoming more prevalently understood on how serious this is in terms of our health. I would argue that mitochondria, cellular function and health, and then gut are the two things that are like either going to make or break our life, right? In
Yeah.
reality. And so we're talking about gut health, but then reduction of inflammation with KPV, immune balance, skin conditions, so psoriasis, dermatitis. There's benefits in skin conditions like that. What's another one? Eczema,
Yeah.
eczema, and I don't want to talk about COVID by any stretch of the
But
imagination.
rosacea as well, by the way, before you mention it, rosacea, I mean, I've seen crazy results with KPV, even topical KPV.
Yes,
Even
that's it.
people reconstituting it into just sprayers and spraying it on their face.
Yes, yes. There's been people, and this is not just COVID related, but people with long COVID, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to get in that, but I'm just speaking on what I've seen.
Yeah.
Post-viral inflammation, fatigue, people are using it to help with all of that, and it's helping. I'm not saying it's a cure for COVID by any stretch, but I'm saying it's helping.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, I would always opt for the one that has KPV in it. Always. I would never leave that out. I think I have a series on the top 10 peptides you don't know about but need to know about that I'm working on, and this is directly in there. It's one of my favorite topics to even get into. I think that it is going to be, sooner than later, one of the most widely used and popular peptides out there. I really do.
So, personal story. I obviously I do jujitsu most of the day. That's what I do, and I got a huge. Anyone listening to this podcast, I don't know if you can see, like, over my eyebrow over here. You can't really see. That's the entire point.
Yeah.
I got a huge gash under my eye, completely open under my eyebrow. And shout out to Integrative Oasis, Aways Spal in California, where I was vaguely aware of KPV, but it wasn't something that I thought you could just spray topically. He's like, hey, you should do this. You should mix GHK-Cu, KPV, spray it on on the injury site. And another thing is, it was because there was some holiday, I don't remember what, but it was taped really badly. It wasn't stitched. Some ER doctor just taped over it. It looked horrible. When I say horrible, it looked like my 1.5-year-old did it. Something third world country type, something not great. And I sprayed it over it for like 8 weeks. And people don't believe it. I show photos of before and after. People think there is AI involved. It's insane.
That's awesome, man. I love hearing that. It's so cool to hear that, because I think that while it's gaining steam, enough people don't know about it. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Snap 8?
Of course, yeah. So we use Snap 8 within the consideration of what we call neuromodulating peptides, which is basically, you could think of mini topical Botoxes.
Yes.
Argirellin is like the most widely used one, and Lufacil probably is the most effective one. Snap 8, we found that when the skin is thinner, like around the eyes, it works fantastically. And then when the skin is thicker, we need to use peptides that can that have affinity to oil, to fats. So Argirellin has a version of it that is oil soluble, which and Lufacil too, which makes it easier to use within that framework, because around the eyes you could get away with more like a hydrophilic, like a water soluble peptides.
Yes. Yeah.
By the way, copper peptides, same thing. Copper peptide, you could have another little molecule structure there, which makes it both loving water and oil. Yeah, but which when I mentioned before that we're really looking at ways to manipulate copper peptide to make it, have better penetration, that's one of the things that we're doing.
Yes, 100%. I was telling when it was coming out and I was learning more about it, I said, if you're going to market this, you have to market it better than Botox, but you have to explain why. And you have to get into it.
I'll tell you what I like the most out of the neuromodulator peptides. It is not, I'm biased.
Yeah.
When I say I'm biased, I am what would speak to me or what would excite me is when you're going to talk to me about someone using a product for 3 to 5 years and then getting the full benefits. If you're
Right.
telling me this was great after 12 weeks and you can't talk to me about further results, I'm not going to be as interested. And what
Yeah.
is really cool about neuromodulator? So what is really cool about those peptides, that what they're doing is they're sitting on the nerves that fire and make your muscles contract, and they're making them get tired like really fast. Not, by the way, physically, but chemically. They're the thing that the conductivity of them becomes kind of gets worn down very fast. So there's no adverse effect. We're just going through more conductive material faster. What happens is that you are also getting, 10 to 20% of the results that Botox is.
Yeah.
But more than that, you're getting non-repetitive folding of the skin. The way that we get wrinkles is like, bending any flexible material in the same spot over and over and over again. You're weakening the material only where you bent it. So by having the skin basically fold in different areas, because other nerves are less tired, so they're going to be the ones who fire, you're
Right.
accumulating less wrinkles over time. That's the important aspect for us. It's not only you're going to have less wrinkles after X amount of time. Yes, you get that, but you get other ones, those benefits as well. I hope
So
I explained it well.
No, you perfect, of course. I've been getting Botox for quite a long time, and I've tested different types, D Sport, and the last time I went, because I just moved cross country here, so I had to find a new place, and the doctor I found literally the most incredible one that I've ever come across that does, injections, and she's on a different level of intelligence. And she had she said, why don't you try this Daxify, because it's peptide powdered. And I tried it, and I mean, I really, really like it. I'm hoping that I'm a fast responder to everything I do. I always have been, but I've noticed it really take effect right away, and it's been really nice, and it was a nice alternative. I don't know anything about it. I'm just kind of learning about it, but it's powered by some sort of peptide, so I was definitely on board to try it. And I also just for the first time I did a micro needling, but it was like the vampire one. So I did the PRP, and man, I really noticed. I'm like, shit, like I'm gonna keep doing this. Yeah,
I'll give you 2 scoops.
Fill me in.
2 scoops. First scoop is actually a longer term. We're working with a French company, really cool company. If anyone knows, shout out to OneSkin, our friends. They have a skincare company. Normally we don't, talk about competitors, but they're cool people. They're our friends. So what OneSkin did is something really, really cool. They went over like 900 peptides, and they understood which peptide is going to work well for senescence. And then you obviously have a lot of science you need to go after that. But that's a good way to start. There is another French company who does it. I'm not going to mention their names because it's not ripe yet. I can't, but that does it instead of like 900 peptides, tens of thousands of peptides. And the same thing that you were talking about with Daxify, where we're using peptides to kind of infiltrate the signaling system in our skin to stop some of the contractions from happening. This is literally the same, but you can apply it topically, and it would do it for collagen production. It's really, really cool. But it's gonna take a while for us to integrate it. But this company is amazing, and aside from the fact that it costs a fortune to do, which is our problem, it's a really cool endeavor. That's long term. But short term, since you mentioned vampire facial or PRP microneedling, basically. We're coming up probably by the time this podcast is out, we're already going to have it out. We're coming out with PRP derived exosome serum.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
boy.
What's insane about PRP-derived exosome is that most people don't understand that exosomes are not the what you're looking for. Exosomes bring into the skin what you're looking for,
Right.
which is growth factors, proteins, and mainly microRNAs. MicroRNAs are basically the same thing that we've been talking about as far as peptides, or like computer codes, but on a DNA level rather than on a cellular level. It's like a deeper, more profound impact. So when you talk about peptides, and exactly like peptides, there is a lot of different microRNAs. So the reason PRP derived exosomes, which is the reason that you, by the way, got the results from that PRP facial that you have, is that this is the exosomes that are expressed when injury is happening. And exactly like we talked about BPC 157, what happens when injury is happening? That's when we express like collagen production, elastin production, we lower inflammation, we bring more blood, whatever that is. The further you go out, zoom out of it, if you do it from, fat tissue, bone marrow, umbilical cord, or God forbid from plants, because that's useless, you're getting less and less close to that specific response. You get different responses. If you're talking about plants, you're going to get only antioxidant type microRNAs. If you're talking about fat, you're going to get like a really just kind of a health benefit as a whole, but you're not really communicating the language of let's make more collagen over here, right?
Right.
So there are about 6 studies showing that PRP-derived or platelet-derived exosomes are comparable to having a PRP facial or a vampire facial, just by applying it on. So you're basically doing vampire facial at home, and that's, by the way, this is really well substantiated.
Dude, I have to get my hands on that one.
We're gonna send you one. Don't worry. And
Please.
Do you know how we're gonna call them? How the product is called? I actually have just the bottle here, outer casing. So it's gonna be called.
No way.
Vampire exosomes.
Yeah, I love it. I had no idea. That was sweet. I brought that up then, huh?
Yeah,
Perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
No,
you heard it here first.
That's right. One of the things that, because I got introduced to you through a couple people that I highly respect, and I mean, our conversation when I met you, I was like, I told my wife, I fucking love this guy. Like when I left, like you're just my kind of guy. But I could tell listening to the passion, and aside from the obvious knowledge, that's a given when you start talking to you about it, but the passion that you had behind it, but the way that you guys, you and your wife seem so innovative with the products, and you weren't just settling on a couple things, or a lot of these companies, they sell expensive products, and I never see anything different. And when they do, it's rare, and it's not really innovative, and there's not a lot behind it. They're not looking for new methodologies, technologies, new ingredients or combinations, whatever the case, and I could tell that right away. And I was like, man, this is how I operate. So that's kind of what drew me to you in the first place, was the similarities in thinking. And then the passion behind the concept, right?
Listen, to be honest, this is because we made this company is made for people like you, or people who, listen to this podcast. Like, we're not for everyone. It's really okay. It's fine. I'm not saying, oh, we're the Lamborghini or Ferrari and someone else is a Toyota. I'm not saying that. But the same way you're going to talk about cars, clothes, anything that people choose where they put their money in, and they're not, obligated for whatever reason. We are a company that is designed, or its credo is innovation, coupled with, well substantiated science. Some other people, they care about different things. It could be, by the way, price. It could be that some people care about what's the least I can spend to get nice results. As we said, it's much cheaper to go to 80% than to 90%.
That's right. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, it costs a lot of money to get to whatever 95% or however you would describe us.
And you didn't ask this, but I'm going to do this because I want to point this out, and this is why I brought this up. Because I still use certain things. I incorporate a multifaceted regimen. I have some hypopigmentation, so I use like an even and correct, but I stopped using Skin Medica aside from that product. And then Timeline's my biggest partner, so I use their serum and their creams, but I have a couple that I have of yours. One of them is this amplifying essence. And because it does such a multitude of things, and it's completely different than anything I've ever seen. And the other one that I love, because I'm a mask guy, is this one, this hyperbaric mask. Man, I love this. Every time I have an important thing, like last night before I did this, I lined myself up and I put this on, and I only use that when I got something really important, coming the day before. I don't think you should overuse masks, so to speak, but that thing, I love that, man. Like, it is legit. And I'm a big fan of your cleanser.
Yeah.
It's very gentle and it's nice on the skin. And I like that because, look, it's kind of like the people that tell me, oh, all protein powders are the same. I'm like, bro, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And it's the same thing with cleansers. Like, you'll see 50,000 of them, but there's so many different ones. I don't know the science behind all of it, but I do know the quality and the care and what's the ingredients. And
I 100% agree. And thank you. It's super nice to hear.
Oh,
Listen, we're gonna have to get you to part 2 because we're. I mean, it's been an hour and I blinked twice.
I know.
But I do want to ask you some like rapid fire questions to try and cover many things that we didn't cover. So let's see if we can, give quick answers here.
Okay.
What's the biggest mistake people make with skincare that reminds you of mistakes that people make in fitness?
Just the consistency.
Yeah.
It's, not staying consistent with eating and training, not staying consistent with doing your morning and evening regimen. And, I didn't do it today, it's fine. Or I didn't do it the next day, fine. Well, no, it's not. It's not fine.
Yeah, I agree. So, in the same vein of like going like translating performance optimization to skin, what do you think is the most underrated habit for skin longevity that, that you learned from, performance optimization?
Sleep, 100%. Sleep, and then not drinking alcohol. Those would be the two things. Yeah, I guess let's just call it lifestyle. But sleep definitely is number one.
Well, alcohol also fucks up your sleep. So
exactly.
What do you wish more people knew about how hormones affect skin health and aging?
Well, anytime you're not hormonally optimized, everything's going to be off. You can take every skin product, you can take every supplement, you can take every GLP-1. I don't care what it is. If your hormones are messed up, it causes everything to be off. Like, really quick, if you're like, when people take testosterone or steroids, immediately like their hormones are messed up, acne, things like that start to come. And obviously that's an influx of hormone, but if they're off, things like that, you're going to notice problems and it'll show in your face and your skin.
Love it. Yes. Let's talk about your model days. What is like one thing that you did that you learned during your early time as a person that makes a living off of how they look that you still do to this day and you feel like is something that more people should know about?
It's really the regiment, man. It's like staying, like we just talked about, the consistent regiment. I was partying a lot. I was doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. And I'd wake up late and be in a hurry, wouldn't do my skin. And over time, especially, you can get away with things when you're young to a point, but you can still see that lack of consistency and accountability, man, it shows, and it shows fast.
Yeah. Okay, last one. What breakthrough in biohacking do you think will change the way we approach longevity in the next 5 years?
I honestly think that peptides are going to become more mainstream, widely used, widely implemented, widely prescribed, and widely accepted. And I think when that happens, you're going to see a drastic change in healthcare and the amount of people actually needing to be staying on medications and in being into the system, so to speak. I think you'll see a drastic change when it's more widely acceptable.
I agree. And exactly like multi-use preloaded pens right now that we're starting to see. I can't wait to see how much easier administering peptides will be, in 5 years.
I sat in on some conferences at A4M, and I've sat with some of the biggest, brightest, most intelligent scientists, and they're working on many different mechanisms of taking these, especially topical forms, and they're perfecting it, they're testing it, and they're working on it, and it will come. I mean, it certainly will. It takes time.
Yeah.
But it's on the horizon, and I've got people I'm going to be interviewing soon that are like knee deep into it. So
yeah. Fantastic. Listen, Dylan, it's been almost as great as talking to you in person. I super appreciate the time that you gave us, and I can't wait to do part 2 and to have many more conversations with you.
Dude, I love you. I love you. I love your wife. I love what you guys do. You know that. My wife loves you guys, and it's just been, meeting you has been so tremendous, and having somebody like you in my life is amazing, and I'm so glad I got the time to talk to you, man.
It's mutual. Before we go, how do people learn more, follow you, etc.?
Yeah, my website's just about done. It's up. It's not fully complete. DylanGemelli.com. My Dylan Gemelli Podcast on Apple, and then I'm at Dylan Gemelli. Instagram is where I'm at. I have TikTok. I don't expect to get an answer from me there. But Instagram, I make it a point to do all of my own social media. I know a lot of people don't, and I do my damnedest to get back to people the best I can. So
that's impressive. Okay, Dylan, thank you again. It's been a pleasure, and we will talk again soon.
Thanks, brother.
Bye. Take care.